What's good, everyone? It's Caleb, and I'm back here with another episode review. And I understand that the numbering looks reasonably odd with me jumping from second to eighth. I think it was the second, the last one I did. But if I do a video circulating around the episode itself, that's more so going to be what I focused on in that episode. And I don't want to use up all my energy making two videos at once. So, yeah, that's the reason why you have one Popo video instead of two videos going over the episodes that the Black Sabbath arc had. But yeah, this episode in specific goes over the arc Sex Pistols Appears, where it's basically Mista's introductory arc and us being shown to Saleh and his stand. I'm going to try to do Kraftwerk. Kraftwerk. Something like that. So the first thing that I want to talk about is how they adapted Mista's backstory. Part 5 has yet to disappoint me when it came to adapting these scenes. David Productions might make me think about their questionable changes on great color schemes, especially when they're just like originally white and it just shifts over into this odd dark green. Like this is it's like Pokemon with how much you have green shinies for some reason. It's odd. But nothing about these scene adaptations were bad for me. It's truly Mista living his simple yet somewhat troublesome life, and it was great in all merits. I love the music a lot, mostly because of how casual it was, and playing in the back of it all while just Mista getting beaten up and also beating up people is just amazing. I also love that the fact that they put in both factors, because not like to think that everyone just has one area where they just get beat up all the time, and then after that they just like grow up from all of that. It's just like Mista was dishing out hands and got hands too. That's full on deserved. Then when we got over into his life-changing moment, the part where the woman was getting beat seemed a lot more brutal than I had remembered. And I think visually, obviously, I'm going to be all like, whoa, jeez, like this is... Ugh. But the sound effects done got nearing uncomfortable because of how brutal it was. And I'm not going to say, oh, remove it. No, it's totally not. That's not the case. Because me being uncomfortable sort of represents that side of how certain people would view that on that area. That because some people would view it as Mista and just be like, oh man, I really want to beat those guys up, and be the, like, those are the people to go ahead and jump forward to that. So it's really on how it's taken, and it's dependent on the person, in my opinion. I'm not really one to talk about that area of stuff. But on the area after that, I really love what they did for the bullets and the effect going around them, because I'm sure that you don't really need to look closely to see it, but you can actually see the bullets spiraling and the effect around it, and how that airy thing that they got going on. It's like, what was it? That was that one movie, Wanted, I think, like the Angelina Jolie movie. I love that. Not the movie itself. I mean, like certain effects, because the movie sucked. But the bullet moving completely linear, that's a thing that you commonly see in anime. I like that they don't go with this type of thing, because for some reason, certain anime treat it as bullets just fly forward. They don't spiral at all. It's just like boom, like it's just like a beam or something like that. Just like a little, like that. That's not how that works. But yeah, the JoJo. No, we're not doing that. On the story, of the backstory itself, I'm a big fan of the simple life, and seeing this backstory always made me think about the comparisons between Kira in his last form, his last Kosaku form, and Mista. Because apparently if you do put Mista's hat on top of Kira, you'll be like, oh shoot, it's Mista. Like, the two were extremely lucky and reasonably superstitious, and that was just a meme that got around. But I honestly think that there's potential in that theory being real. Not that Mista is Kira, or like he had kids and like for some reason Mista is like, actually, I don't know, that could be a thing. But just the fact that this is just potential that Mista's character had inspiration drawn from Kira. I mean, it wouldn't be that much of a surprise, because Araki really did like Kira. Like, that was a huge thing for him. But I digress, because it's me. I'm good at that. I'm good at digressing, people say. I like the narrative structure of these backstories on who the person truly is when they come out of their life-changing event, and how they all ended up being here in Passione. It also connects over into that overarching narrative of fate, and how much that really is a factor in everything. And I am always down to see it. Now on Saleh. I was interested in this character more so because of his stand originally, but he himself isn't something to miss, obviously. I love the contrast between him and Zucchero. Zucchero was definitely not a composed character with how much he cracks without understanding everything. Though I think where these two connect is that they more so bank off of the other person not knowing their standability and capitalizing off of that. It's just that Saleh is able to fight when being figured out instead of immediately going down like Zucchero did. And you can also see the confidence that he has in his abilities with the stuff that he does to get to Mista. And like Zucchero, he does get ahead of himself instead of being the one to focus on his surroundings. Instead, he just focuses on Mista, and that ends up being his downfall. And also, the little nice thing that they have going here, you have sale, which is, I'm pretty sure, salt in Italian, and Zucchero is sugar. And both of those, I don't know if it connects over. Like, this is some type of like symbolism thing that goes down into their names. This is off script. The fact that if you have too much of either, it's like, oh fuck, this is bad. Like, and it's also, I don't know, because sugar being affiliated with candy being childish. I don't know if that, like, that's some type of thing that goes on, but I'm sure that Mehdi would talk about that. But yeah. Now on the fight itself, everyone will interpret a fight how they do. Me personally, I feel like there is more factors to the fight, but primarily my thing was that it's Mista, how he's viewed versus who he actually is. And like how he's taken lightly versus, you know, the actual brutal, like actually reasonably smart guy that he is. Though Mista does make it a point to somewhat show himself as a person that people do think he is when something is off, like when he had shot Saleh in the face and Saleh was just talking about how much it hurt. On when he's being taken for face value, I'd focus on when Saleh had actually opened up his mouth willingly to let Mista shoot, and he was taking his bluff, and you were just seeing what he would be able to do once he did take the shot. The thing is, he didn't think that Mista had been working on something else. Like, this whole time, he thought that this was his primary plan, but in actuality, Mista had been building a plan behind that one instead of the one that, you know, just like he was going for in that case. And after that, Saleh was like, what the fuck? He couldn't have possibly even seen that coming, especially with how he was underestimating Mista. And ironically, his brain was damaged after Mista had completely outplayed him. Like, that was all mind games, and he got destroyed. He lost the battle of wits. I will give Saleh a lot of credit, though, because he definitely holds the ambition to go the lengths that he does to beat the other person. I guess some could say resolve, because it's like a thing he has. But yeah, Saleh was a really good gangster. Not gangster, because gangstar, he's not an all-star, but he really, I could have seen him being a potential ally. Like, obviously, he's going to be working against them, but if there was some alternate future where Saleh's character just stayed the same, really, he could really work well with the good side, in quotes, good. But yeah, in conclusion, solid episode. I am loving the backstories and how well done they are. And if I have any future thoughts about the episode, like something I'll just like, oh man, I forgot to mention this, I'll be sure to pin them in the comments. So thank you all for watching. I was recently thinking about getting into not getting into but like actually making a video on the 1999 version of Hunter recently, because I already watched it. But I'm in between on that and working on bigger videos that I had planned, so I'm not so sure. I'll be leaving a poll in the top right. I mean, you guys probably could have seen this like already to begin with. It's probably going to be something around like, oh, maybe me talking about previous parts, me talking about part 5, or parts further, like part 6 and then on, or other franchises. Actually, I've been putting off like things like Mob Psycho and stuff like that for a while, and some Marvel stuff I wanted to talk about. So I don't know, just you all comment what you want to see. That's really it. So again, thank you all for watching. Hopefully I'll see you on the next one. So until then, peace out and Godspeed.